Well, welcome, Brett, to Rise. I am very eager to dive into all the different things that you are working on. And you have this extraordinary book that you wrote, and I wanted to really talk about that and kind of where that came from. 3 Keys to Managing PTSD. What was the passion behind that?
Thanks so much for having me on, Hannah. Great question. The passion for the book was really born out of a bit of a tragedy, right, for me personally. My father passed away in 2014, and he was a Vietnam veteran, USMC, Marine Corps, and he was also a New York City firefighter. And throughout the years, he had a lot of PTSD, never realized it, and then towards the tail end of his life, some of his buddies approached him and said, "Hey, John, you really should go to the VA and, get tested and stuff because you definitely have PTSD." So he did. And that was like kind of towards the tail end of his life. Right at the end, he agreed to do a coaching session with me. I called him on a Tuesday night and he jokingly said, "Do you really want to pop the lid off of this top?" He always felt like his demons were bigger than him. And I said, "Yeah, Dad, I really do." And he said, "Okay, we'll do it on Friday." So that was the plan. The universe had other ideas. The next day, when he was shopping with his friends for a barbecue in a supermarket, he had a devastating bleeding stroke in the center of his brain. And 9 days later, he passed away. So that's how that all went down. So I cried like a baby for 6 months. Came up with a new technique that I teach people how to reconnect with lost loved ones, to reopen their heart to them, and how to call them back and experience them in dreams. My father's come to me in over 30 dreams since he's passed away. And there's a little technique I do to kind of reconnect with him there. And at this point in my life, I feel more connected to him than ever. And I wrote that book after 6 months of processing my emotions and then published it the year after. And since then, thousands of veterans have received the book, and it's really well received by veterans. I wrote it for them. And it was the best I had with all the tools and techniques and knowledge and wisdom at the time to just package it in a nice, neat workbook and hand it off to them.
Wow, what an extraordinary story. I'm sorry to hear about your father, but it sounds like you really found a way to work through it and show others to do the same.
Yeah, so it was a very big lesson for me in loss. And the biggest lesson I learned was to express my feelings as they come up, no matter how deep, how uncomfortable, how painful they are. When we become overwhelmed with waves of emotion, that's the universe at a point in time, at a point in time, that's giving you an opportunity to let it all go. So we want to go through that emotional car wash, right? And let the tears out so that we can clear. And it's just like if you don't go through a car wash for months and your windshield gets really dirty and you can't see out the windshield, that's what happens to us when our emotions build up. We can't see properly. So as we go through the emotional car wash, we let the tears come, our perception starts to clear. And that was my greatest lesson, from that.
It's funny that you mention it because even when we were kids, growing up, what was the first thing our parents always told us? Don't cry. Mm-hmm. But really what you're saying is you have to feel it. You have to go through the emotions. You have to let them out. I love the analogy you just shared. It is okay to cry. It is okay to feel the emotions and move through. What a great way to describe that.
Thank you so much. And I hope the listeners receive it just like that, just the way you did. And it's not our parents' fault. It's just something that we all been through, right? We were raised, they were raised to don't cry because our parents never knew what to do.
Right.
So it's no one's fault, but it is our issue to heal, right? And the easiest way to heal it is just let it come up, don't censor it. And then what I like to do is just express everything that's in there, right? It's actually a new technique came out of our last retreat at the Himalayan Institute. It's called the 4 Steps to Freedom. And it ties really nicely into this conversation. Is it okay if I share it?
Absolutely. I was actually going to go there next and just really dive into what is stress is gone. We're working that way. So let's keep going.
Cool. So the 4 steps to freedom is the steps of the actions to do and the things to take, right? Right when you're upset, stressed, anxious, whether you're angry, sad, fearful, whatever's going on, okay? When you feel emotionally off and you're upset, this is what I want you to do. First thing is touch the tension. The second thing is start breathing deep and slow and imagining the airflow moving right through the center of the tension. The third thing is express everything you're feeling. Right now, to express our emotions is kind of awkward for some of us, myself included. When I first got into this work, it was really awkward. So the easiest way to start is just say, right now I feel tension, and wherever it is, in your stomach, your heart, your solar plexus, your throat, your back, and it feels like, and you label the emotion. It feels like sadness. It feels like anger. And it might be related to, and now you just go on a stream of consciousness and you express everything that's upsetting you. Once you feel you've emptied the tank, that's when you do the 4th step. The 4th step is receive. What are we receiving? A connection with our own higher power, our own higher self. You are the glue of the universe. And once you realize it, it supports you. So the way we do that is we say, unlock and release all of the tension in my heart, if that's where you're feeling it, and melt down the sadness in every single part from the inside out right now. And you say that and you continue to breathe deeply and slowly and touching the tension, and it starts to unlock and release from your body. Once the emotion releases from your body, your mind gets clear again. And our perception goes from really stressed and narrow to open and wide. And you get yourself back. So remember, the 4 steps to freedom. Touch, breathe, express, and receive.
I love that. We all need to go to your version of car washes quite often, right? To get the stuff out. Wow. I never really thought about connecting in that way. How hard is it to really implement that in the day-to-day? I mean, I always talk about lifestyle, training your brain to live a certain lifestyle, to behave that way. How hard do you think it is for someone who's never really thought about it that way to actually do that? To take that time and say, hey, wait, halt, 1 second, let me,
Yeah, I feel it's super easy, right? Because we're always looking for an answer for it, or we're caught in the middle of an overreaction and we're creating more karma for ourselves, weakening the relationships around us. So remember, you are the glue of the universe in and all around you. So the moment you're upset, you can always take your power back just by the touch, the breath, the express, and the receive, right? And I feel the other way of not doing anything and just reacting, that just perpetuates the problem. Okay, so you're throwing a monkey wrench into the whole cycle of your stress and anxiety. And it all comes from a deep place within us. All of our patterns of stress and anxiety all come from our formative years and how we experience stress back there. So once we start to express and we let the tears come, and the beauty and the ease of it is you don't need to plan it out. It's not hard. The universe picks the times and moments and places for you to feel that sadness come up or that anger. The universe does the work for you, right? All you got to do is let it happen. And once the mind opens, the heart heals. So this is really a process to really open the mind and let the body naturally release the pain. Every cell on the planet is pre-programmed to return to homeostasis. Our mind is blocking the process. Now we're opening the mind and we're letting the love back in. That's all that's happening.
Wow, extraordinary. So you talk a lot about trauma, and you kind of said it just a few seconds ago, that a lot of the different things that we experience, our feelings, emotions, the way we react to things stems from things that happened in the past. So you created Stress is Gone, Talk to me about that. What does that mean? And what does it encompass when people are coming to you in a state of PTSD or anxiousness or just, the whole thing? What can they look forward to working with you? How do you help them, I don't want to call them breakthroughs, but, getting to that more calm where we're supposed to be?
At the heart of Stress Is Gone, we have one-on-one coaching with me, and then we have our retreats. And then I'm a big proponent of teaching someone how to fish instead of just giving them a fish, right? So I have a whole retreat workbook that is like the 3 keys to managing PTSD, only there's a lot more exercises in it because I wrote the 3 keys in 2015. After every retreat, I update the workbook with a new tool, new knowledge, new wisdom that came through in that retreat. So now the workbook has not only a technique to let go of stress in seconds, not only a technique to process old traumatic memories, it also has techniques to release anxiety in minutes, to reverse negative thoughts and negative thought patterns, and then also to identify your true desire and embody the core beliefs that automatically manifest it. And that's the real breakthrough. When we were younger, stress happened to us. And as we get older and go into our teenage years and beyond, stress happens through us. We're manifesting it. So once we go into those old core beliefs that are fear-based from the stress we experience in our childhood and our formative years, we get in there, we reclaim our power, we let go of all the pain, all the fear, all the panic and anxiety, and then there is a deep wave of inner peace that comes through. When that happens and those old traumatic memories are resolved, all the triggers that was stirring up that stress stew, that was stirring up all that old anxiety, all those triggers leave you because there's no spark anymore. There's no reaction within you. You've done the work and you broke through. It's almost like levels of a game. So that's very important to understand. When we look inside for the answers, that's where we find everything we're looking for. It's almost like if you could imagine one of those observatories, like there's a few of them in California. It's like usually like a white dome, right? And then when the scientists want to learn something, those doors open up on the dome, and then what happens? The telescope comes out and looks into the universe. What I want you to do is do a 180 on your telescope and point it within, because that's where all the answers are waiting. It's just a shift of perception. So when you're reaching outside, you're going to reach inside. And I came across 3 teachers in the beginning of my path when I was 27, and they all mirrored that to me strongly. Yeah. They weren't like, come follow me forever and blah, blah, blah. It wasn't like that. It was a different experience I had with my teacher, and I consider myself very lucky and fortunate for having that, because each one of them pointed me back to myself, back to find the answers inside. And that's what I do with everybody that's in my coaching program, everyone that comes to the retreats. I teach them how to do what I do so they could use it in the moment.
So you made a very profound statement. You said, we manifest stress. And so for those of us who are currently doing that and we have little ones, how does that affect our little ones? If we're manifesting it and they are, directly in our inner circle, how does that affect little ones? Can little ones start to pick up those patterns as well? And then here we have a reoccurrence. It's almost like it just continues to happen. It's a domino effect.
So are you referring to parents and how we pass down unconsciously stress that we inherited to the next generation?
Yes.
Okay. So your kids are reflections of your own inner child and all the repressed old emotions where your psyche is trapped in the temporary. So our pain, our traumas, these are just sections of our psyche that got a little fragmented, that are trapped in the temporary. And everywhere we have pain, from the household we grew up in, every time we wanted one of our parents or both to love us in a different way, we felt neglected or abused. That's the part of us that is meant to heal. And when our kids come into the world, they are pushing those buttons, baby. They are like masters at it, right? If you think about it, so these issues that our kids trigger in us, they are within us. Kids didn't put them there. They were there a long time ago. We inherited it. Right? So we have to use and get mileage from our children and fulfill the purpose of having them. Okay, when they are younger and they're in the nest and they're triggering us, right? No matter whoever it is, when we're living under the same roof with other people, eventually they trigger us in some way. So you get mileage out of it, meaning you get the lessons from it. What does my soul want me to learn from this situation? You think about the repeating stress with one of your children. What does my soul want me to learn from this situation? And where am I manifesting it from? So the key for me is identifying where the tension is. For me, when I get stressed and I get triggered, it's usually in my heart. So I identify where the tension is, put my hand there, start breathing deep and slow. I label the emotion, and then I look at the repeating thought that I'm having when that person triggers me. It could be, I got to get out of here. It could be, I want to punch this person in the face. It's usually something around the fight or the flight logic.
Wow.
And then I ask myself, when is the first time I had this thought and this emotion fused together? And then I think back to the household that I grew up in. And you could even flash the faces of the people that grew up with you that were in the household. Your mother, father, your sister, your brother, or the rooms. If you had a lot of stress in your bedroom and you felt all alone, could be something from there. Once you have a hot flash on it, your body will send you a signal. When you hit on it, let's say it's your father, you're going to feel a reaction. Like, yep, there it is. Or you'll see red, right? Or some kind of color. You'll get a signal. That's where the healing is. And that's where my work is done in the workshops, the retreats, and the workbooks, and the coaching sessions. I help people let go of the old stored emotion inside that old memory. And when it's resolved is when you could reflect on that old memory or that person without having any reaction inside your body. That's where we want to get to. So that the next time your kid does that same action, it's not going to trigger you because there's no more gas in the tank.
Wow. You have my all the light bulbs are clicking for me personally. You know, I have 5 children, grandchildren, and and I work with thousands of women across the world, and we're always talking about anxiousness, stress, triggers, emotional intelligence, and I don't think I've ever heard it put in such a way that we really do have to pay attention to the signs and like what you were talking about. So what do you do or say to the person, because what you're talking about, I consider to be a very holistic approach to it. And you're having the person work through these. But our world has changed so drastically, and everyone is, you go to the doctor and you're like, Doc, I am stressed out. And what does the doctor do? He gets out that old prescription pad and he gives you a bunch of Band-Aids. He writes antidepressant prescriptions, anxiety prescriptions. And so I guess my question is, for what you're doing, are you seeing a lot of these people coming through your program on these types of medications trying to mask, and then they're going through and they're actually seeing like the work can be done? It doesn't need to have the medication side to it.
Right. So after we heal the problem at the source, everything starts to settle out on the surface.
So harmonizing it. Okay.
So if you had a broken leg, for a while you would have a cast on it and you would walk with crutches. But what happens over time, they take the cast off and you don't need the crutches because you
right.
Remember, every cell on the planet is going back towards its pre-programmed for homeostasis. Even our stress reaction itself is meant to get us out of the stressful situation back into homeostasis. So we're caught in a catch-22, right? We're caught between a rock and a hard place right now. We're manifesting the stress. The issue to me is not what's going on in the body. The body's been programmed to survive for millions of years. It is what it is. It's our souls. We came here not to just run in circles of stress, but to heal key issues. So the universe set this up for us in a way where our issue that we have not healed from childhood, that core relationship from within the family of origin, it's going to keep on showing up in our life. We're going to argue with our spouse. We're going to duke it out with our parents through our spouses, right? We're going to duke it out with our children where we are unhealed when we were children. So this whole thing about with the medication, the holistic approach, what I find is a lot of people come to my retreats and workshops when they tried everything else. And as a last resort, they come and then they get it. So we have the tough part about the reality, right? When we go to the doctor, we might not get the answers that we want.
Right.
We don't get the relief. Like when we were kids, we go to the doctor, it's like, oh, I feel better in a few days. It's like, and all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, all these other problems I have. Like, there's so much baggage with the system. But the beauty of that, the ultimate beauty of all of it, of this crazy reality that we're in, is that no one is showing up for you. There's no knight in shining armor. It is you. That's the beauty of this. That's what we're being pushed towards. The answers are within you. And the second you could start to reconnect and you start to become okay with whatever you're going through, that if you're crying, that you're yelling, you're pissed off, I'm okay even though I'm pissed off. I'm okay even though I'm falling apart. I'm okay even though everything is crumbling around me. Because all you are is life force energy. And that is the key to understand that you're not the body. You are the consciousness and life force energy that decides on how to move it. And when we encounter stress, our body hijacks that consciousness. So all we're doing is when we're hijacked by the body, by the stress reaction, we're just opening up that perception by breathing, touching, expressing, and then calling in our own higher self to read the body and slowly pull the curtain back from the craziness and say, yep, I'm right here. I'm okay.
Wow. I don't say that very often in my episodes, but wow. That's the only word I can think of right now. So you have really built a way for people to really truly overcome what you just shared. And you have an extraordinary event coming up. And I would love for you to please share every single detail, how they can get involved. And let's talk about what's going to happen during that retreat.
Yeah, so this is a really special retreat for a number of reasons. I've been doing retreats for a number of years. And since the pandemic, I started to focus more on doing retreats at the Omega Institute, the Himalayan Institute. I've done a lot of work at the Open Center in New York. And we have stuff coming up at Kripalu in Massachusetts. So the retreats are just like an atomic bomb of unconditional self-love. That's what it is. I use an intuitive technique to surface those old traumatic memories in minutes. It happens really fast. I figured out a way to pick the lock on the back of the psyche. And within a few minutes, all those old memories that sometimes takes years of therapy to bring to the surface, we allow all of it to come up. The toughest part is your body starts to viscerally feel all those reactions again because it's coming up to leave. And then we call upon the higher self. And what I found is that the light never disappoints. When the pain is right on the table and we call in the unconditional love energies of the universe to hold that pain in a chalice of unconditional self-love, you actually feel it all melt down inside your body. The tension releases, and your mind starts to become clear again. And what I've found is such a beautiful thing, because we also use music and movement and meditation. And sometimes we have like a dance party. Our last retreat, there was a participant that walked in with a cane, didn't see them walking at all without a limp and a cane the entire weekend. And in our final dance session, he was doing this dance. It used to be called up rocking. It was like breakdancing, but when you're on your feet, right? Breakdancing has floor work and then top rocking, up rocking, whatever you want to call it. He was doing that, and he was walking with a cane the whole entire weekend, did not walk without a limp, was making noises, and he had this beautiful smile as this was happening in the final dance. And I just said, look at yourself. And he's like, I might regret this tomorrow, but I feel amazing right now. And I was just looking at him in awe. And the pictures that we took and the feedback that I heard from that final day afterwards, because I actually drove one of the participants back to a train station for him to get back to the city on my way home. He was like, Brett, look at the final picture. People look 20 years younger. And all I can say is that just like a garden hose, like when your garden hose is crimped and you're trying to water the garden, what happens? The water doesn't come out. You're not able to water the flowers, the herbs, the fruits, the vegetables, and that nourishment doesn't come up out of the soil. When you unkink the hose, now the water is spraying. And what I found is when we do the emotional healing work from those original traumas, they crimped our energetic hose. Okay, when you see people hunched over walking, that hose has been crimped for decades. So what we're doing is we're uncrimping the hose that's been crimped for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years sometimes. Once that happens, the energy moves up the spinal cord, right into your brain, and is feeding the center of your brain out, and the heart opens. When the hose is uncrimped, the energy flow aligns, and you're really present. Your spirit comes right back in and retakes the space inside your body, inside your physical body, where all the trauma and all the old emotion and tension was stored. So all we're doing is like swapping out energy. We're swapping out tension for expansion. And to me, there's only two forces in the universe, tension and expansion. And 99.99999% of the universe is expanding. That's why love will always win. That's why expansion will always happen. That's why it always works out in the end. Okay, this is just a quickening to get to that space.
So when you're talking about, you talked about you have this key to kind of make it go a little faster, like you have a backdoor in. Two thoughts came to mind is, wow, that's amazing. And then my second thought is, what if I don't want to know? You like you said, it all starts to come up, and it's things that we don't even remember.
Yeah.
It's both exhilarating and exciting, but also, have you ever had someone say, you know what, I don't know if I'm ready to do this, to face some of that?
So I'll say this, the workshops and the retreats that I do, a lot of times the people stay together. One of our big retreats at Omega last summer, they started a WhatsApp chat. It's called Self-Love Warriors. That's the chat. Okay. So the people that come to me are ready. Okay. And I explain this in the very beginning of the retreat in my initial short and sweet intro. I say, I just want you to know, you're going to feel all these emotions come up. It's going to be your fight or flight reaction. Please don't hit my moneymaker, because this is the only thing I got. I'm a one-trick pony. If you want to take a break, it's okay. I just want you to know, if you get up because you're triggered and you leave the room, the stress is going to stay with you. If you can sit through it courageously and raise your hand and tell me what you're feeling, the stress is going to leave you. So it's a conscious choice they have made. And what I personally found is the description in my retreat is very important. I talk about past traumas. I talk about childhood stuff. I talk about our formative years and letting that go, reconnecting with your inner child. So usually people see that and they're like, boom, I want that. Or I don't want that. Not everyone on the planet is meant to go through this transformation. Most people live and die without ever thinking of their inner child. It's not meant for everybody. This is meant for like the self-love warriors that are meant to walk through the fire, to rise up like the phoenix and call into their spirit and allow it to expand from all the pain to unlock and release it. It's only a certain kind of human being. It's those that are ready, that had it in their soul, and that were waiting for it. Like when I had my first session with my first teacher in 1999, as it was happening, I was like, here it is. Like the universe was revealed to me. I was like, this is what I've always been waiting for. So I knew it in my soul. So that's the types of people that I'm looking to attract. Those are the folks that show up, and those are the folks that are ready, that want to let go, that had enough. Really, it's people that had enough, that have tried everything, and they just want to let go now.
And there's a lot of people that are there that have had enough and really do want a new way. So your next retreat is in February.
So it's February 9th to the 14th. We end on Valentine's Day. It's at the Himalayan Institute in Hollingsdale, Pennsylvania. And this retreat is so special for two reasons. Every retreat is unique. I have people that have been to 5+ retreats, and then all the other people that's their first one, they're like, how was it compared to the last one? They're just like, everyone's different. Every retreat is so different because it depends on who shows up. That dictates the spirit that comes through. Because I'm channeling a collective higher power when we're doing the inner child work. So it all depends on who shows up and how much light they're ready to receive. So getting back to this coming retreat that starts on February 9th, it's special for two reasons. This is the first ever women's only retreat.
Oh, okay.
And it's also the first ever retreat that we had an option just for weekend registration, that you don't have to stay for all 5 days. So people that can't get off of work, they could come for the weekend. For people that are ready to dive in and really bring the transformation deep and anchor it into their body and their psyche, they come from Friday to Wednesday. And we leave around 1:30, 2 o'clock. So you get home, depending where you're coming in from, for dinner for Valentine's Day. And the space that my goal is to lead all the women leaving the retreat on Valentine's Day is to fall so deeply in love with themselves. It doesn't matter what they receive on the outside, because they have everything they could ever want or need on the inside. And that's my vision and intention for this coming retreat.
So when you're conducting these retreats and doing these coaching sessions, and how do you stay grounded for you? Because you're helping other people unload and unpack a lot of things. How do you keep yourself healthy in that space so that you can continue to help others?
You have awesome questions. And the only reason why these answers are so good is because your questions are amazing. So you're really bringing some cool stuff out of me. So how do I stay grounded?
Yeah.
The first thing that happens is my personality goes 200 miles away. I call in my own higher self. Then I call in the collective higher consciousness of everybody in the room. I tune into that. Now, I am psychically connected to the collective higher power. Now, when somebody raises their hand, because that's the key to the retreat, is when you feel something come up, you feel an emotion or a flashback or some tension, you raise your hand. So if you feel it come up, you put your hand up. When someone's hands goes up, I say, what are you feeling? As they start talking, I'm zeroing in my third eye into their tension. So now I'm seeing it in their body. And I'm listening to collective higher power coming into the back of my mind, telling me what to ask them and what to say.
Okay.
Once the original trauma is on the table, the experience shifts a little bit, and now I guide them into these higher self affirmations that release all the tension from the body. As that energy is coming through me and transmitting through them, I'm also releasing. So this work is actually healing me. I'm like in the center of the conduit, right? So I'm hearing it, feeling it, and they're unlocking and releasing it. So we're both releasing. The most amazing thing is people in the retreat that have similar issues than what they just expressed, that one person, they start releasing as well. So everyone starts doing these higher self affirmations together, and the tension, the old emotion, the trauma starts popping like popcorn in the room and releasing. So what I do is after a session, after a workshop session in a retreat, I will go back to my room and lay down and just decompress. And I'll connect with source just from closing my eyes, putting one hand on my heart, one hand on my belly button, and just focusing on light in the center of my brain, and then light in my heart, and just letting it expand as I breathe. And then I just go into like a deep, rejuvenative, meditative state while other people are at lunch or at dinner. So you won't find me at lunch or dinner. And that's the reason why. And the folks that have been coming, year in and year out, they know that. And sometimes there's major releases because the work goes so deep. We're not just releasing issues from our childhood. Sometimes we're releasing ancestral issues, ancestral trauma, soul issues. So our attention in our body comes from many different areas. It's almost like we're marionette puppets. And when we get stressed, we have a lot of buttons and a lot of automatic reactions. So we're kind of cutting all those cords to the controllers so you can be the one in the center of it all, calling your consciousness in and taking your power back and embodying it into the center of the body. So I hope that answered your question. I kind of went off on a tangent there.
No, it did. And I can't, we have to follow up. I would love to have you back on just because I really am curious to see, because you said this is an all women's retreat, and I really am anxious to hear the results of what you have done, because the whole time that you're explaining this process, I'm thinking, wow, CEOs could truly use this in business, in the day-to-day things in business, in their health. It just connected all the dots all at one time. So I really want to hear how this goes. And I really want to make sure we stay in touch and bring you back, because hearing others share what they experienced at your retreats could be, women need this. This is something that women need, and we want it. So I thank you for sharing that. So this retreat, you have it called Face, Embrace, Release. February 9th through the 14th. How can people who are listening and watching this, what is the best way that they can connect with you?
Yeah, just go to stressisgone.com. So stressisgone.com, click on the retreats tab, and then you'll actually see videos of people talking about their experience in past retreats. And we have, throughout the website, we have over 100 testimonials from people from all walks of life. Men, women, teenagers, students. And one of my corporate clients that I was teaching meditation at before the pandemic, it was in person, they brought me into a global VP's retreat, and they wanted me to come in right before the retreat started. And there was 66 global VPs in person in this boardroom, and they wanted me to unlock and release the tension between them.
Real.
So I have done a lot of this work with middle, upper management in corporate America. The work I have found happens beautifully as long as you're a living person in a body, because we all have cells, stress reaction, emotions, and it's just the connective tissue that binds us together, that life force energy. So the best way to check this out is go to stressisgone.com, click the retreats tab. If you can't make this retreat and you want the work, then just click on the coaching tab and then go down there, and we have a whole other set of testimonials, so you could kind of get a feel for the work. And I actually do a free discovery call via Zoom. If you read some stuff, you're interested, but you're just not sure, you can hit the discovery call. We jump on a 10 to 15 minute Zoom. I ask you some questions to understand your situation, and then I let you know how this work can help. And one quick shout out to someone that does amazing work. And I know that you do amazing work and have connections with, women all over the world. So I just wanted to share the name of this person. Dr. Shafali does amazing work with helping parents parent their kids at all different stages. And I found her work to be really eye-opening and empowering. So if you're having issues with your children, I encourage you to check out, her work as well.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I want to backtrack for 2 seconds. So you were in a room with VPs, and your goal was to get them to really let their guard down and share how they feel about one another.
Mm-hmm. So,
wow.
The CEO wanted me to do a meditation to kick off their retreat, right? Now, these are all people that are competing for resources, right? For monetary resources for their programs. So it's like being in a mini lion's den in corporate America, right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we all want relief. We all want peace deep down, okay?
No.
Our opening affirmations were, I'm safe. So I have 65 EPs say that. And I was like, look at each other and say, she's safe. Look at each other. He's safe. We're all safe. And they started laughing when we started doing that. And then we did like 3 or 4 rounds of that. And then that disengaged the fight or flight reaction. And then we were able to do a meditation. And the meditation was just really reconnecting through underneath all the reactions, we have a purpose, right? No matter what role we're currently in, we have a purpose. And it's just getting into that place of inner peace and awareness of what our purpose is. So it was just clearing out all the chatter, right? Clearing out all the chatter to bring it to a place of calmness and peace. And it worked amazing. It was a 20-minute meditation. And the eyes, when they opened and we're just looking around, it was almost like when my son was born and he's looking around the room, like it was a really cool thing to see,
Wow. Oh, yeah. I would have loved to be a fly on the wall in that room. It really just, it made me think. One more question before you go, and what it is what made you decide to specifically hone in for this retreat coming up February 9th to only focus on women?
Over the years, and we're almost going on 25 years now, women were most attracted to this work, the whole emotional healing work. When I published the workbook for veterans, the 3 keys to managing PTSD in 2015, that's when more and more veterans started coming to me, right? And it was a mix of men and women. And then more and more first responders started coming. At the root of this work is healing the heart.
Mm-hmm.
And my purpose is reopening the heart of humanity. And I feel that women hold the key, right? Now, we all have hearts. We all want to love. And I feel that we're all made of unconditional love originally. And then this world conditions us through stress and anxiety and trauma. But I really feel like women hold the key. And over the last almost 25 years now, they are the ones that were attracted to this work that I'm doing. Right? And they've been extremely receptive. It's almost like natural. And the transformations happen quick. And sometimes that happens with men, but more often than not, there's some tricks to the layers of the mental programming that guys have gone through, the layers of generational trauma. Right? And at the end of the day, they just want love too. So I really just feel women hold the key to opening the heart of humanity. And I feel like that's the main part of my purpose.
Well, I want to thank you for sharing such incredible insight and really explaining the process. I still have to go back to wow. So for those watching and listening, this retreat coming up February 9th, you can go to Stress Is Gone, Brett Cotter, and I would encourage anyone who's watching and listening, you should probably be in that room because I think we do all have stuff that we need to unpack. And if we unpack, heal, and receive, as you say, we're also open to receiving new things, right? Abundance, good health, good mental health, emotional health. And those things, I do believe we are meant to experience living an extraordinary life. So thank you for sharing. I definitely want to have you come back on. I have so many questions, but we don't have enough time today. But I do want to say thank you. And for anyone listening, please reach out. Make sure you go to this retreat. All of the ladies listening and watching this, I think this one's for you. Thank you, Brett, for joining me today.
Thank you so much for having me on and being in the moment with me. This was such a great experience, and your questions were amazing. Thanks again.
All right, everyone, stay tuned for another episode of Rise coming up. And thank you, Brett Cotter. Make sure you keep in touch. Stress is gone.